Hello, it's Tori.
Hi,
I'm
I'm
Diego.
Martin.
Oh, I'm Amanda.
And we're going to be talking about the film Safe, released in 1995. I think something really interesting that I found that I was comprehending more. I didn't really understand the Reed article, but something that I was focusing on, I don't know, maybe it just interested me more, was the interpretation of Julianne Moore's acting, because I think she's a really, really, really talented actress. And I think it was interesting, her flatness. Because like looking back at the film, like thinking back on it now, she really had, this character was like very bland, and that was obviously purposeful. And um, yeah, I think I don't know, I just think there was something about that like blandness that was very important to the film. I can't really put my finger on it. I'm not sure what it is, but I thought maybe we could start with that.
Yeah, the Read
Uh,
article actually, I believe, does mention that, like somewhere near the end, it mentioned how,
mhm.
or not sure exactly where, but it did mention how she's a very flat character and how she didn't have much development at all.
Yeah, and there was almost like this scene in the where she's almost sometimes portrayed as being like incapable, like very like almost like the way like sometimes we portray like mental health patients in movies as being like these very like can't really speak for themselves. That I'm just thinking that last scene, um the birthday party where she's trying to give a speech, and it's very uncomfortable because she can't she doesn't know what she's saying, like me right now, like she doesn't know what she's saying like she doesn't know, nothing's coming out. And that was a very, I think that was like for me like the most uncomfortable scene in the movie. It was like this like weird like helplessness, and then like the way she smiles at the end, it was very it's disturbing. I think it was really disturbing actually. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I do think the film was very much about the inevitability of like immune diseases, and kind of our need to find a reason when there is none.
I
I
think.
think that oh sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can go. You can go. It's fine.
Okay. I think that's like they tried to make Carol as like generic as possible because she represents just like a generic housewife in California. They're
Hmm.
all kind of the same. They all try to do different diets. And like she says, like before she tries to speak, like, oh, I'm not capable of giving a speech or something like that. Or like, I've never
Hmm.
done this before. I don't know what to do. And like she doesn't work with and not with other people. The most like work like social thing she does is like aerobics or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever that was. That was.
And like she follows a specific routine, but like she's never doing like something where she would need to be a leader in some way.
Yeah, I think it was even more than just generic though. Like it was like almost like nothingness. Like she was like almost by the end of the movie, it was almost like she wasn't there. It was really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
I noticed. I think within the Read article, um, I think somebody or maybe I think it was like critics or something. I think they called the director, I guess, misogynistic for
Hmm.
how she had or how they had uh Carol kind of act. And I think they did that in a way like she's supposed to act, I guess, like like was said earlier, like stereotypical. And I think that can kind of play into like some of the things that were happening with like when she met with the doctors and stuff, and how um like they're all men and they're like, I don't know, I think there's like a lot of like I guess it talks a lot about like maybe like gender norms or I don't know the exact wording, but like the way gender is perceived, at least in America. And I think also how like, I guess being said, like I said earlier, how like she can't talk for herself a lot. Like even when she's like in a one-on-one meeting with the doctor, she kind of couldn't explain what was happening. And during one of the first meetings that they had for the I guess awareness group, she had her husband speak for her rather than like her speaking for herself. So I think it was like a very interesting, like recurring theme throughout the movie.
Something I wanted to mention was the way the movie played with genre, specifically the horror genre. There was a lot of horror elements in the film. And just this is kind of not really exactly a horror element, but this is what I thought was kind of interesting. There's this kind of trope in some horror films, so I'm thinking The Exorcist, where someone has a mysterious illness and they're going to all these doctors and they don't know what it is. And like in between the doctor's visits, the illness gets worse. And so that was very much like what happens in The Exorcist, if you've ever seen that movie. She's like slowly getting possessed and they're taking her to these doctors and it's like getting worse and worse, like this like climax. And I feel like the movie was almost like playing with that trope because that is such an iconic movie. Everyone knows that plot line. Everyone knows that. And if that's what it felt like to me, this like going to all these doctors as like this mysterious ailment gets worse and worse. And I was just wondering what that means to the meaning of the movie because I really don't think it's just one, I don't think it's very subtle. The likeness to like The Exorcist with the going to the different doctors, and especially about like the female body, because that was The Exorcist was also very much about like the like demonization of however you like decide to look at it, but it was about like a little girl and it was about like basically like puberty, I think. But I'm just curious what that means because it 100% was not a coincidence that they're kind of similar in that way.
Sorry. I think sorry, I lost my train of thought. But they definitely wanted to make Carol like wait, I just remembered. Okay. So they used a lot of ambient music like throughout, like, which is definitely like a common sort of thing in horror movies. Like they didn't that was the only music they used. They only used like I thought that the beginning of the film was kind of like in like sort of Lynchian, like a Twin Peaks type of deal because of the music and just how it was being presented as just like a weird, dreadful, like not comfortable introduction of like a car going down the street because like it made it seem like, oh, the car was probably going to run over something because of how like horrid this movie already feels, yeah.
Yeah, the beginning scene was definitely very ominous. I think it was setting up a lot of, I know it said this in the article, but it was setting up like this like suspense that just once she gets into the garage and gets out, it kind of just drops. It feels off, I guess. It would almost like feel more comfortable if like the car went into the driveway and like a demon popped out. Like it would almost feel like better that way, but nothing happens and that makes us really uncomfortable.
Yeah. I also noticed cinematography wise, this could be connected to horror as well in a sense, or maybe more so thriller. Was that there were several shots where the camera is in one place for a good amount of time. Like there's the scene where they're eating dinner and like she goes into the kitchen with the maid and she's going in and out, but the camera just stays completely in one place. And it's like as things progress, and then there was one scene where she was sitting on the couch and the camera was doing that, but then it just started zooming in very ominously, but it still hadn't moved at all, which it really gave us this unsettling feeling like we don't know what's going to happen. Again, with those thriller like elements coming back.
Yeah, I think the camera work reminded me a lot of movies like Midsummer or
Mhm,
Hereditary
mhm.
with like how in the beginning there's nothing inherently wrong with the setting that they're in, but they kind of like use the camera work to make you like think that there's something like a little off. I think it was just really interesting to see like how they use that in a movie that isn't necessarily like a all out horror movie where there's like a demon or like some weird cult thing or anything like
I
that.
think especially like Midsummer with the color scheme that they use is very
Yeah.
bright and like, but I think it was a scary movie. I was scared during that movie. Like I was freaked out the entire time. Like from the start to the finish, I was freaked out. And I just noticed another comparison I can make to I just searched it up. I don't see any articles on like comparing the two of them, so I'm gonna do it. To The Exorcist. There's that scene where she's at, I feel like I'm like sounding so dumb right now because she's gonna listen to this and she's gonna be like, what the hell is he talking about? Like there's like nothing here.
Fine.
But I'm seeing something. That scene where she's at the baby shower and she kind of like disrupts this like celebratory event. Her ailment like disrupts this event that's very like normal and kind of like a normal thing amongst people, and her ailment like disrupts it. And when she's holding that child, she has like the seizure. And that was scary. I felt scared for the child. There was like this raggedy breathing behind her. And you knew it was gonna happen. And that was also what was scary. You knew it was gonna happen. Like it wasn't like a sudden thing. Like you knew from the second that you saw Carol in the scene that something's gonna happen to her in the scene, because it's just there's like this like contrast with she like doesn't belong there anymore almost, and you know something's gonna happen. And that was one of the scenes that scared me a lot actually. Yeah, and I do feel like that's there's a connection to be made to that. If you guys have ever seen The Exorcist, there's a scene where her mom's a movie star, and they're having a big party with the director, and she comes down the stairs and she says, "You're all gonna die," and she pees herself, and then she collapses. It's really, really disturbing. And that gave me it was almost like the same like disruption of almost like the same type of like this like ailment disrupting this like party between, I don't know. But yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think there's definitely a very kind of clear connection there. I think also something that I noticed while watching the film is that a lot of the shots made her kind of seem like, I guess, separated from like the rest of the people. Like I think also like looking at the birthday party scene or the baby shower scene, I think she seems very alone when she kind of gets sick. Like she seems like she's obviously there with people, but she feels like
Mhm.
she's on one side of the room and everyone else is on the other side of the room. They're kind of like doing their own thing. And I think I don't know, I think to me, that kind of like makes a connection with like more of a mental illness and like the way that you might perceive yourself and how like you might see yourself as being like different and like I guess not being able to like relate with other people and especially like in large groups. And I think that also kind of connects to the way that like a lot of the more medical professionals like aren't able to necessarily diagnose any like physical problems with her, and that it might instead be like a mental thing. But it's just like something that I kind of noticed while watching the movie.
Yeah, and how the doctor does eventually refer her to a psychiatrist because he feels like there's nothing else he can do for her, so he feels it must be a mental issue. Like generally, I do feel like the way mental illness versus physical illness, I kind of feel as though in this movie, what they all said was physical illness. I do think there was some underlying mental illness, and it was more that than anything. Like the way they're talking about all the chemicals and whatnot, while there are lots of chemicals, some harmful, it was going really over the top at some points with their descriptions. What do you guys think?
I think, well, the entire movie, I thought she had Alzheimer's, because in the textbook, Julianne Moore is in a movie where she has Alzheimer's. She plays like this woman who has like early onset Alzheimer's. And it turns out that movie came out like in 2014. So obviously not this film. But I forgot that part when I read that caption. So I was connecting the two and was like, oh, this must be the movie. So, and honestly, she was showing a lot of symptoms of Alzheimer's. So I'm not gonna like blame myself for this. Like she was forgetting things. She was forgetting where she was. She was getting up at night and like walking around. She almost like walked into the road. That was also scary because everything feels so. I just got off topic from what I was saying, but I just want to mention this other scene that really freaked me out. They did like, there was like almost like this moment of peace, and then suddenly she walks into the road, and that was like almost like a jump scare. It was really, really off-putting and really like uncomfortable to see how really out there, how really like gone she is, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it felt like I couldn't really understand what she had. And I think that's part of the movie. You don't know what she has. You don't know what's wrong. And obviously the medical professionals, they can't tell her. They're all wrong. I don't know.
I think that she may have had like some kind of like variant of AIDS or something, because like they kept talking about it, and they kept talking about like all sorts of things, but like I don't think that they had a very clear idea of what AIDS was then still. And like her, like the thing on her head kept getting bigger, which like is like I remember somewhere it's like a part of like AIDS where like you have like skin, like your skin keeps like has like bigger patches. It might be like skin cancer or something like that. But like, and like the opening scene, like where she has sex, like has sex with her husband, like he could have given her AIDS, and because he's like not very present in Carol's life, he could have cheated on her. This is like totally like over the top, but like
Yeah, no,
I
I
kind
guess
of got
that
this
was also a
idea.
creepy scene, by the way. That was
Yeah.
also really
And like
creepy.
she
Yeah.
was like, she just like was expressionless.
That was really creepy.
Could've-
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been something. That
That gave me another thought. I feel like maybe all those kind of symptoms, they were purposefully put in as symptoms of all these kind of very recognizable but like not really understood illnesses that have become a part of our society. So like Alzheimer's and AIDS and cancer and like anxiety and all these things that have like ingrained themselves into our society and like progressively become like more like, you know, more and more common or something. So that they're all like there together and we don't know what she has, but our brain like registers that like, oh, that's like a symptom of like this one, that's a symptom of this one, then everything becomes kind of like muddled and it's kind of like uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I just Googled what you said, Amanda. Like I just Googled AIDS skin patches, and yeah, I definitely see what you mean.
Okay, good. I was a little worried that I made that up in my head somehow. Oh my god, what else? I also like there was definitely something up with like the organization that she had to go to.
Oh yeah, no, it was a cult basically. Like
Like I was like, is this a cult? It might be, like, because like there wasn't really any sign of anyone getting better, if they showed that at all. And there was like a guy walking in the field with like a sock on his head or something.
yeah, that's
And
actually the
there's-
cover of the
What's his
movie.
name?
Right.
Lawrence
Like Lawrence or
Something like
Lance
that.
or something.
Henry.
And they're just like, oh yeah, he's just scared to breathe. Like it's casually, like,
Like,
okay, sure, I'll go with that.
I think also adding like everyone that stays there is like living in a kind of crummy little like camp house, but like the owner is like up in a mansion.
Yeah,
that's,
I got really mad when I saw that
absolutely huge.
actually.
So it was
I was
like,
like,
I don't know,
yeah, okay, dude.
it was just weird. It didn't like, especially like if what she had was AIDS, and like it doesn't look like the same. Like they didn't look like they're in the same condition that like he was in. You know, like he looked like he was in a much better condition. And I don't really know a lot about AIDS, but I don't know. It just seemed weird. He was just a weird. He was a weird guy.
Also, I feel like the thing with the igloo house, they said that he went in there at first and now he's the way he is. Or like he's better now that he went inside the igloo.
Yes.
Like, did he really? Or like, I feel like he may have just made that up.
Who
So-
the
The leader to like convince people that going inside a little igloo is going to cure your illness.
no, I think that was the
It was the
he said
husband,
that
right?
the woman's husband made it for himself and then went in there, and that was
Yeah. They
But
did
did
say
he-
that he felt better, but he ended up dying.
Yeah, he
yeah,
died.
so
So like
I
she
don't know
could
how they.
die. Yeah.
I don't know how they made that house without using like chemicals. Like that isn't
Yeah.
like I.
well, I think
did
that's
a bit
getting
of-
more like I think that's getting into like the less like they don't
Yeah.
really have to think about that because it's more of a symbolic thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I don't know. It just kind of confused me. I was a carpenter for a little bit, so like seeing this house just kind of show up
Mhm.
and like making it like I don't know. It confused me. And I didn't understand it, so
What was going on
threw
with
me
the
off of it.
couch?
The couch.
What was that all about? Because that was like a really big like plot point that took up like a lot of time. That took up like 15 minutes or something with like
Yeah.
the whole kind of span of like her getting this like black couch and then going and like not understanding because the order says like that. What was that about? That was
Yeah,
the
it's like
couch looked
she
fine.
said that she was freaking out over the couch was black, and so she said that she ordered blue or whatever, and then they go and he says that the original order did say black, which was really confusing. Like that's another reason that I think can agree with you, Martin, why you thought she might have had Alzheimer's or something if she's remembering things incorrectly like that.
right.
And clearly maybe that was a first sign of what's going on with her psychologically, like getting into a big frenzy over a couch, which for some people I can see why it's a big deal, but like on the surface doesn't seem like something that's such a huge deal, but it was focused on so heavily. Maybe that was to get into her mindset.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just a really, really a very um abstract film. I'm having a lot
Very
of
much
trouble
so.
with it actually.
I think maybe like the idea of since they don't really say what she has, I think it might be used as like a way to like you the viewer could kind of put what you wanted there, maybe, or like have it up to like your own interpretation rather than like a clear cut like this is the problem type of thing. But
Mhm.
I don't know. That's kind of like something I just kind of thought of.
Yeah, it seems like the kind of film that would do that. Like the ending was I don't even know how to explain the ending. It was very open-ended, I believe. Like, but I was wondering if because the husband of that woman there who came out of the igloo and now she's going into the igloo, I remember thinking, oh, is she gonna end up like him? Is she gonna end up dying next? Like, is she gonna think she healed and everything's better and then drop dead?
I don't know. The movie it kind of cut off unexpectedly. Like in the end, I wasn't like I kind of like I noticed you know like man, like that's it's a weird scene and then like the credits rolled and I was like oh okay that's cool. It definitely caught me off guard a bit.
I think another thing
Yeah.
is like sorry. They always like have her in like like they the lighting is always used to make her look sickly. and it
Mhm.
doesn't ever get better. She like the lighting is still makes her look ill even after she's there. Like she isn't getting better.
Mhm.
And like the lighting inside the igloo, she looks even worse, I think.
So then I think that leads us to question, what is it that's like corrupting her? Like what really are these chemicals? Is it
Yeah.
like, is it like actual chemicals, or are these chemicals something that's more uh theoretical, conceptual, I guess? I'm not sure how to word that.
So also discussed in the Read article about that, I believe it talks about like how when it mentions that there's no healing, nothing gets better. I'm wondering if like that could be saying something like, so they're just learning to accept what's wrong with them and they think they're getting better and they're getting worse, but they think they're doing so well. And so they're just quote unquote embracing their illness, which, coming back to the idea of relating it to modern society, we're seeing a lot of like more mental illness coming back to that, Diego. So like, is that more people are becoming more open about their illnesses, and especially with the rise of social media where we see a lot of people talk about their stories and their struggles with their disorders, physical or mental. And we see a lot of things and a lot of accusations of people quote unquote glamorizing their disorders, and that's been a problem for some people. Like they see this and they think, oh, I must have this, and they follow everything this person's doing. And it's just causing a lot of interesting things to happen.
Um,
Well, what about the image as text and the image as presence idea in the film? Um, hmm. I think there's probably a lot of it being the image as presence in showing us the I guess the environment and that Carol is living in that's apparently affecting her, and then also showing that same environment through image as text, I guess. I think that might be something they did. I'm still a little unclear. Um,
I think
Yeah.
I'm still a little unclear too, but I think the image's presence would definitely be like the first kind of half of the movie where she's still like in LA. And I think it's just used to kind of show like the things that could have caused her illness and like the
mhm.
way that she relates to those things.
I'm curious if when she's in that hospital room, I think, and she sees the advertisement for it on the television, like it seems like such an amazing place. Like, we will help you, we'll get you everything you need. And then she goes there and we realize they're not really helping per se. They're friendly, they're welcoming. It's like a family, it's like a cult. And so it's like, I feel like another thing coming back to that is like, not everything is as it seems.
Well, I think it felt desperate to me. I mean, she literally left home and went to a desert, to like basically like a compound in the desert. Like,
Yeah.
felt very desperate, and I was very sad. Um, yeah, it's a sad movie. Not a movie I'm gonna watch again, I don't think,
I
ever.
mean, I liked it, but it was
I
definitely
did like it, but too much, a little too
there's a
heavy
lot of
for.
yeah,
Um,
too much thinking for
one
me.
one more thing. I remember seeing on like the Wikipedia plot thing, it said that the leader guy has like this rhetoric of like psychological fascism,
Yeah, I saw something
like
about that
which is
too.
about his like when referring to his like motivational speeches. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I definitely got like a we're better than everyone else vibe or something.
I did get that. Yeah, I did get that too.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got, I think. We good?
Any other ways we can relate this to today a little, like in that other prompt, like how we, like what we see in the US? Like I know I brought up the disorders in media and one, like any other ideas?
Hmm.
Um,
I just
Mm.
want to say that I do think these chemical people are probably anti-vaxxers. It's a big thing we're seeing right now. So many anti-vaxxers just, it was a problem before, but just went whoop, shot right up during the pandemic.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's definitely.
I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
would-
interesting.
yeah.
I think it's like the exact opposite. I think they would take any vaccine if they were told it would help them. I think it's the
Yeah,
exact opposite.
Yeah.
They're
It's
they're
like-
all desperate
Interesting.
people. They're desperate,
are
lost people. And the movie is kind of desperate and lost too. And that's very
It's confusing though, because they also don't seem to trust doctors very much.
well,
they
I
were
mean,
they
all
would.
told the same thing.
they're
like,
all
oh,
told the same
yeah.
thing
Yeah.
and it's never
Yeah.
works.
I think
So,
they would
mean,
definitely like believe in like COVID and that it was like as bad as people say it is, just because like they're like kind of used to, I guess, fighting an invisible like disease. It's something you can't always see, and I think COVID would fall into that category.
Yeah, I feel that. Any final thoughts? Like anything else? Anyone wants to say something about the film, something they interpreted?
I think there's definitely something to be said about this is like some sort of a classism. Not, I don't know if classism, but some like, I think class plays somewhat of a role in the movie. I don't know if I can exactly like say what it is, but I think it's definitely something that showed up every now and then. Like how the way that their son talked about like the west side of Los Angeles and like gang violence, and also how like I think all of the maids were Hispanic, and how like a lot of like the main characters and like their friends are all like white and stuff. But I don't know.
True. I don't think there were many people of color inside like the like the place. There wasn't like the meeting where like they're told that they have the illness, but not at the actual treatment center. There's
well,
like
there was the black
there was
woman
the
that
there was
was
the
like a
one woman.
henchwoman for the
Yeah.
she was like a devout follower of, I think his name was Peter.
Yeah.
She was a weird woman. She was weird.
Mhm.
I don't know what to think of her.
Well,
She also looks familiar. Like the
Yeah.
actress, she looks really familiar.
Let me
Let's see what she's in. I think maybe because she looks a bit like this girl that went to my high school. That might be it. I'm not sure.
Mhm. I'm looking at the cast.
all right. So do you guys think this is a good place to end for today?
Think so.
I would
All
say
right.
so.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Goodbye.